Now, breaking news from Carol Abbott.
We are following breaking news out of South Minneapolis, where one person has died after a building explosion this morning. That building, Minnehaha Academy. If you look at your screen, you will see that firefighters are on the scene. You can also see where a big portion of the building has collapsed. You still see smoke rising from the building. A short time ago, we saw orange flames jumping from the building. Our photojournalist David Peterlins has been there this morning. He's in the thick of it all, and he joins us live this morning from the phone. And Dave, MPD has told us one person has died. What are you seeing there?
Here, the whole middle section of Minnehaha Academy has collapsed in on itself. We've been told from officials here at the school that it was an apparent gas leak that led to an explosion here sometime in the 10 o'clock hour here this morning. They have told us that all students have been accounted for. There were a group in the gymnasium at the time. Right now, firefighters and police are on scene. They are looking through the building. I've seen them taking folks down from second story here via ladder, very close to the collapsed portion of the building. From what I've been told, this is a total of 2 floors that have collapsed in onto what appears to be 3 floors here, and that there were 2 to 3 classrooms in there, according to one student I spoke with here.
And David, do you know how close the gymnasium is to the area that collapsed?
I'm looking at the gymnasium. It's on the north side of the building here, and it's probably a couple hundred feet from the collapsed portion of the building here.
About how many students have you seen? We know they had at least 825 students in grades K through 12, and we know they had summer programs, but not all those students participate in the summer activities.
Yeah, Adrian, it does not look like they had the full complement of students here this morning. I've seen probably just over 24 students gathered on the lawn here along West River Parkway, but everybody around here is just kind of shocked with all this. I've spoken with a few neighbors who were in nearby homes, and they report feeling the explosion. I've talked with a number of passersby who were just driving a few blocks away and heard and felt the explosion.
I can only imagine. We can clearly see that big hole. We're looking at videos from above right now as you talk, and the folks who say that they felt the explosion, did they talk a little bit or share with you, David, about what they heard, what they were doing, how close they were?
One gentleman I spoke with was simply working from home, and he said he felt a large boom, and that he didn't know what it was. He got out here and, within a matter of minutes saw what we're all looking at right now from Sky 11.
And David, I want you to stay with us for those who just might be tuning in. We are following that breaking news out of South Minneapolis, where one person has died after what appears to be a possible gas explosion.
This explosion was felt for blocks. I mean, people got on their bike and rode here from a few blocks away saying, I felt something, I knew this was very serious, because multiple people telling me that their homes shook, their lights flickered. So look down the sidewalk. These are all people that have come to see what happened. Minnehaha Academy is a pillar in this neighborhood for many, many years. As you said, a very historic building. So a lot of these people are just concerned. One woman I talked to, who's actually over on her front porch right here, she looks right onto this scene, and she said this awoke her from a deep sleep, and recalling how she felt when she heard that noise, she immediately burst into tears, because everyone here just knows that this is very serious. Whatever happened, we don't know if people were hurt or if any life was lost in this explosion. We're just not sure. That is not clear at this time, so we're going to wait until authorities do confirm exactly what happened, and I think they're trying to figure it out. If you can see, actually, Chad, if you can pan back, there's a lot of flames now that are bursting up here, and I think this is, I don't know if that's a line of firefighters or police officers, but still trying to get a handle on this situation. I assume amongst all the rubble, there's a lot of hot spots and trying to understand exactly what happened here. I just do know, again, that when I came up here, I thought, well, that for sure has to be 2 buildings. And no, neighbors were telling me this was indeed one solid building. So if you can imagine the power and the force and whatever explosion this was to actually crumble this historic building, many bricks, solid materials just blasted for a very long distance from what I could see from aerial views. And so if this could do this to a building, what exactly did happen? And you just pray to God that there was nobody inside, but we just don't know this at this time. So
I believe we do have Lauren Lemanchek here live with us now. Lauren, it sounds like authorities just briefed you guys. What did you learn?
We did learn from authorities that they are in there still on a rescue mission. There are 3 people unaccounted for. And so that's something that they're really focusing on now, trying to find those 3 people. I asked if they were students or adults. They were not able to tell me that. The fire chief was unable to tell me that right now. But what we do know is that there's a rescue mission going on inside this building. He confirmed a natural gas leak is suspected to be the cause of this. I'm here right now with Sarah Jacobson, who's the Director of Institutional Advancement here at Minnehaha Academy. Sarah, you were inside the building when this happened.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
There was a large explosion and things fell from the ceiling and the building imploded.
When you were in there, were you surrounded by other people? Were you alone at the time?
I was in the 2nd floor main office suite with other staff members.
So what was the immediate reaction?
We got out of there as soon as we could.
How many students were on scene here? I know it's summer, but you do have summer programs that a variety of kids do participate in. How many children were here at the upper school?
We think we had about a dozen upper school students in the gym, which was isolated from the incident. They have all accounted for each other. In the process of evacuation, if you are a parent of one of those upper school students, they can be picked up here at the upper school, but we're asking you to go to Edmond Boulevard and 32nd Street to stay out of the parking lot, which is cordoned off at the moment.
That's important information. I know parents at home are certainly waiting to hear that kids are okay. So all of the children who were here were accounted for, just to make that clear.
As far as we know.
How about staff members?
As you said, the fire chief reported that they're still looking for 3 people.
What's that like for you guys as a family, to know that there are people possibly inside that building?
Well, it's heartbreaking, so we just ask you to join with us and pray that they would be safely rescued soon.
Had there been any reports of natural gas smell prior to the explosion?
Not that I'm aware of. I cannot speak to that.
But there hadn't been any issues here in terms of natural gas lines in the past?
Not that I'm aware of.
If you had something that you could just say to the families of the children, to the families of staff members who may have been here or may be at home watching, what would it be?
I would just ask you to join us in prayer that those people who we're still looking for will be found quickly, that those of us who are making decisions will have clear heads and discernment as we go forward, and that we'll come up with a plan quickly for school going forward. And we'll certainly be in contact with all of our families just as soon as we can.
You know, Sarah, one of the things that I noticed when I came up here is it wasn't a frantic scene. People, it seemed like were under control. Can you talk about the evacuation of the building and how that happened?
All I can say is that we were told to get out, and so we did in an orderly manner, and it's certainly a shocking event, but we are a very tight-knit community, and so we're encouraging each other and certainly looking to the Lord for peace during this time.
Absolutely. And who told you to get out?
I don't know if I can even say. I just heard a message to get out.
Over the loudspeaker or over the school announcements?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When this explosion happened, you said it was a loud noise, and then it started shaking. Was there a moment where you weren't quite sure what had happened?
No, it was pretty evident what had happened.
About approximately what part of the building did this occur in, and what sort of things happen in that part of the building? Is that classrooms, or is it a band room? What's over there?
This is just general classrooms, so you have some English, some social studies, some foreign language. It's just the center part, and then our STEM lab on the bottom floor.
You know, I can only imagine for the students who are here, for the teachers and staff members who care so much about them, what it must have been like when you got into the parking lot or outside the building and saw one another. What was there a sense of relief, or what was that sense as you walk out and you see the other people?
Yeah, there's a sense of relief. There's also a great sense of concern for what has just happened, what the implications will be, the people who we haven't found yet.
And in terms of those folks, have you reached out to their families? What's that process?
We don't know who it is. We don't have the information. The fire chief has not released names.
Okay, so how do they know that there are 3 unaccounted for?
Well, I'm not in the back of the building. There's another whole group of staff in the back of the building, so I'm sure they're doing their checklists back there.
And I know it's so hard to even try and think of that in this time. You're just praying for their success, for their health, and that the fire department will work quickly. Thank you so much, Sarah. Just one more time for parents who may just be tuning in right now, what should they do if they had a student here or are concerned about a student here?
So if you had a parent at the upper school, this does not affect students at the lower and middle school for summer programs. So if their camps are at the lower and middle school, this does not affect them at all. But if you had a student practicing basketball or in another program here at the upper school, please pick them up at Edmond Boulevard and 32nd Street, right next to the school.
And going forward, counseling, are you going to be looking for new locations? What sort of things happen going forward from here?
We haven't gotten that far yet, but we will certainly be in communication with our families as soon as we know the plan.
All right, Sarah, I know everyone's going to be praying for and thinking of your school family because it is a tight-knit community, as you said. Thanks so much. That was Sarah Jacobson, the Director of Advancement here at Minnehaha Academy, talking about the moment that all of a sudden there was an explosion, a loud noise, the building shook, and then they immediately started evacuating the building. She said that there were maybe a dozen or so students here at the time. They all accounted for one another. And then she has told me that they all have called their parents, but she did have that message for any parents who were concerned that they should come to the school. She gave the specific location where they should come to pick up their students. But as she had told me before, most of the students have been in touch with their parents. So the students who are involved, their parents know. 3 people unaccounted for here. That right now is the big concern. Now, Sarah said that at this point,
the common thread, one thing we have heard throughout the morning, is gas, smelling gas. Our reporters on the ground asked the chief if they had responded to any gas leaks there before.
Y-N-E-R.
We're going to listen in now.
The last name, or how you pronounce it.
Your title, Mr.
Okay,
Brainerd?
Assistant Chief of Administration. Okay, so since our last update, we have gotten some updated information. First of all, we have been able to confirm that the explosion, that the collapse was caused by a gas explosion, and that was caused by workers who were doing, or construction, or no, let me rephrase that, contractors who were doing work on the building. As of now, we have been able to lower down that unaccounted for number down to 2. We did locate one of the people that was unaccounted for, and we did find that person unharmed.
Was that person in the rubble or no?
No, that person was outside of the building.
What about the structural integrity? Are you able to get in as far as you want to get in right now or not?
Right now, we're not to that point. We are still assessing the structural integrity and trying to shore up places so that we can get in as far as we want.
The 2 that are unaccounted for, what sort of efforts are going on right now?
Right now, it's still a search and rescue mission, so we are still trying to identify those 2 people. We don't know that those people are actually in the rubble or in the building, so that another one of those people or both of those people could still be, walking around out here somewhere. Chief. So first of all, we're trying to identify who those people are and see if we can get in contact with them.
On injuries?
We do have, we had, I believe, 5 people transported to the hospital, 1 critical. We did have 1 person that was treated on scene and released.
Brian, so do you have anybody in the building at all?
Right now, the fire is out. We don't have anybody in the building. All the uncollapsed parts of the building have been searched and cleared. So at this point, we're focusing on efforts on just the collapsed part of the building.
What does that process look like, getting at the rubble and then removing that or getting to the bottom of it?
Well, it can look a number of different ways. We have to be very intentional about that. Moving one thing can cause a collapse in another spot. So the first thing we need to do is try to identify void spaces where people could be surviving in there, and then try to move the rubble in a way or access those spaces in a way that won't cause any further damage.
Is this something that you train for?
This is something that we do train for. Structural collapse and technical rescues is something that we do train for. We actually have a special crew just for that. We call it the Heavy Rescue Crew, and we are also a member of Task Force 1, which is a state resource that handles these types of emergencies.
Are you moving things brick by brick, or what are you doing?
We are getting to that right now. That's being assessed. It may be where we can move it brick by brick. It may be where we have to get in some heavy equipment to move some bigger slabs or bigger portions of the building.
Can you hear any voices or anything under there?
Right now, I don't have any information that we've heard any voices.
Is there anything you want to say to the public about all this and what they should know?
They should know that we're working hard on trying to identify these last two unaccounted for people. That it may take a while because we have to be very careful about how we do this in order to not cause any further damage, but that we are working on it. We do have a bus set up over on 32nd and West River Road for family members of any people who may have been in the building or may have worked here or whatever to find out where their family members are or what the status of their family members are.
Brian, can you confirm the two that are still unaccounted for? Are they staff of the school or part of that contracting firm you spoke about?
That's information I don't have right now. We're still trying to get good identities on those people.
So how do you know that there are two unaccounted for without identities? I'm just curious as to how that process works.
The first thing we do is talk to people who were in the building and ask them if everyone is out or do they know of anybody that would have been in there.
Brian, can you comment on the confidence level that there are two people still in there or whether or not they're not in there?
You know, I'm not confident that they are in there. They may be in there, they may not be in there. I don't know that at this point. Again, the last person that we found was not in there. So our hopes are certainly that the other two are not in there, but we don't know that yet.
We heard some witnesses tell us about civilian efforts to go back in and rescue people. Is that something you encountered?
That's not something that I encountered. Crews may have encountered that. I don't have that information right now, but I would expect that would happen. That happens a lot on emergencies. People step up and try to help out.
What sort of work was going on that caused the gas main to rupture?
It was work with the gas main, I think with the boiler system specifically.
Brian, were any of the crews working in the gas leak or any of the firefighters injured in this rescue?
Right now, we don't have any firefighter injuries that I'm aware of. I don't know who was involved or who was among the people that were transported to the hospital, if they were school employees or contractors.
All adults?
All adults that I'm aware of.
Do you know roughly how many emergency crew members were working on this particular scene?
No, I don't know. It's a lot.
Could you tell us again about injuries? Did you say one? How many were the injuries?
We transported 5 to the hospital. 1 was critical. I don't know the disposition of the other 4, other than to know that they are not critical.
The initial report was 1 fatality. What's the update on that?
We had to back off on that. We had got a radio report that there was 1 fatality, but it was not confirmed, so we backed off of that. So at this point, we don't have any fatalities. We do have 2 people who are unaccounted for.
Okay, that's all we have time for right now.
And that latest update coming from the assistant fire chief saying that the explosion was caused by contractors doing work on the building. 5 people transported to the hospital. He did say 1 person is in critical condition. We are going to hear now from someone who was inside of the building when this all happened.
And we went up to our meeting and we're talking to the counselor and another staff member that we also know too came in and said we need everybody out of the building. We smell gas. And seconds after that, my daughter got up and was getting ready to leave out of the counselor's office and was blown back into the counselor's office by the explosion. I mean, it was seconds after they told us to everybody to get out that the explosion happened.
Heart-dropping moments this morning for family, staff, and students, all linked to Minnehaha Academy.